everyone, welcome to Funguy The Entertainer Cooks For You. Today we're going to do stuffed green peppers. The recipe that we normally use for 6 green peppers is 1 pound of ground beef. I never buy 1 pound of ground beef. I usually buy 2.5 to 3 pounds because it's called a value pack. You get a slightly better price on it, and I like making extra food. So I'm going to give you a recipe the way I cook it, but if you're just not going to do the extra meat on the side, which is what I'm going to do, you would just need 6 large green peppers, a pound of ground beef, 1 medium onion, roughly half cup of onion chopped, 1 can of diced tomatoes, a half cup of long grain rice or minute rice or anything, a cup of water, a teaspoon of salt, and some cheddar cheese. What I'm going to use is this, I believe correctly, was just short of 3 pounds. I think it was 2.8 pounds of ground beef. So what you're going to do is you're going to, you also need a pot of water for boiling the peppers. So the first thing you're going to do is turn that pot of water on so that it gets hot. You want it to be boiling when you're ready with the peppers. Now, I just realized it's a little off center here today, but it's close. So I only have 5 peppers. One of the peppers accidentally went bad, and I don't have time to go back to the store, so I'm only going to use 5 peppers. I have 3 green and 2 red. Most people use green peppers all the time, but I'm making 2 out of the red just because it sounds interesting. So we're going to cut the tops of the peppers off first. See if I can do this way. And we're not going to throw the tops away. There's a use for the tops. I'm going to pull the middles out right off the bat. See how easy that is? It just comes right off this way. Save the tops because we're going to dice the extra part off the tops and utilize it. See, all this part here is good, so we're going to save it and put it in the stuffing that we're going to stuff the peppers with. This goes fairly simply. It's not a hard process. Remember to try to get as many of the seeds out as possible because you really don't want to be eating the seeds. They're not all that tasty. Plus they get stuck in your teeth. Okay, see, this is actually pretty simple. I've never used the red peppers before. I just wanted to try this. As I told you before, I'm on this kick of trying different things. Now, I do see one issue with the red peppers. See if you can look in here. The seeds go all the way down to the bottom, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get them all out. We're going to smack it around a little bit and shake them. Oh, looks like I got another thunderstorm coming in. We weren't supposed to get any more tonight, but that's okay. All right, see, these are nice and clear. So the water's not at a boil yet. So we'll just keep the stuff off to the side. We'll take our measuring cup, and we're going to take the caps that we cut off already. We're going to cut off the sides that's still green here. So this part we're going to get rid of, the actual stem. We'll dice these, throw them in the measuring cup. Oh yeah, it's coming down pretty good out there. You can hear it in the traffic already. I'm assuming you can hear this because I've noticed when I'm doing the editing I can hear a lot of things. Okay, I'm keeping them kind of, actually, probably should cut these a little smaller because these are going to be blended in with the hamburger. Yep, that looks good. I like the size of these. Now, it should work out pretty good on the quantity of the extra on the side. okay. Try to keep these seeds out. Throw a red one in so it blends in a little bit. And as an FYI, I think I've told you if you watch the other episodes, we're going to start having people here that I'm going to be cooking for them. We auction off one of these at the FFA fundraising auction, and I have a nice couple that's going to be coming over shortly, probably within a couple weeks here, and we're going to cook a special meal, an entire meal, not just one item, but the entire meal, which we'll do on the show, and they will be guests on the show, just like you're watching a TV cooking show. That should be a lot of fun. And actually, tomorrow night, we have our chamber auction, which I am a member of. And we're going to do another auction off of Funguy The Entertainer Cooks For You, where they get to be a guest on the show and get dinner for two. So we'll, shortly after the first one, we should have a second one. And I'm going to try to do this more frequently. I'm thinking that it will make for a much more interesting show. This is looking really good. A lot of people just throw this part away, and it's a waste because this is obviously just really tasty pepper. So you might as well mix it right in with the ground beef when you're cooking it. Do another red one. Now, by now, Craig will have seen his chili pizza that I made. I'm waiting to see how he likes that. Nobody specifically requested this one. This one is something I'm actually doing for my wife because she loves stuffed green peppers. And I thought it would be something that would be good to share. So that's what we're doing today. I know that some of the cooking shows edit out a lot of the prep work. They have everything pre-done. I'd like to hear some comments. If you want me to edit this stuff out instead of talking and stuff like that, that can be done. I'm doing it this way because I am an entertainer, and not just being a cook. So that's why I like to talk about this stuff while I'm doing it. Not only that, having everything all pre-done, you don't get to see how it's done. Granted, dicing up vegetables is really not all that difficult. And as you can see, we have quite a bit. And just think, all this was going to be thrown away. Most people just throw this away. Look how much I have in here. This is almost 2 full cups of diced pepper. That is such a waste. Okay. Peppers are all done. The water's not quite to a boil yet. You want to bring the water to a boil before you add the peppers to it because you're basically flash boiling these. So I'm putting them off to the side because the pot's over here. While we're at it, I'm going to now start the ground beef. You want that on medium to medium high. Make sure you have a cooking spoon handy. I'm going to separate the meat right away so it cooks better. It's actually still really cold in the middle. This came out of the freezer. Oops. See, I'm making a mess. Bad me. Good thing I just cleaned this stove. Of course, I clean it constantly, but okay. Now, The first thing you want to do while you're waiting for the water to boil, you could put you could put the peppers and the onion in there right off the bat. So let's just do that. Okay. We have a Vidalia onion, which is a sweet onion this time. I like, we're doing a sweet pepper, so I thought a sweet onion would be good. We'll see how that works out. Okay. The other nice thing about the sweet onions, they're not quite as hard on your eyes. You will still tear a little bit, but not as bad. As you could probably hear, the meat is already starting to cook. Okay. Unfortunately, I wasted some of those peppers because I'm not going to dig down in the grill there to get them. I'm going to stir these in a little bit more. Okay, put my lid on so it starts to cook a little faster. And we'll come back in just a few minutes. Okay, the water is coming up to a boil now. As you can see here, the meat is starting to brown. That's what you want. We also have a small pot of water with a cup and 3/4, a cup and 3/4 of water, which we're going to use to cook the long grain rice. So what I'm using is Uncle Ben's long grain wild rice. I'm using a whole box. Again, you'd only use a half a box, or you use a half a cup of rice out of a bigger box and cook a smaller percentage. But you're going to see I'm going to actually create something out of the extra meat after we're done stuffing the peppers. It's one of the things I like to cook that's kind of cute. We'll see how it works. The water's now boiling. I've got the timer set for 5 minutes. First thing we're going to do is we're going to drop the peppers in the water. And we're going to sink them. Make sure they are filled with water. Okay. Looks like I'm just a shade low on the amount, so I'm going to do this, and then I'll refill my pot. Yeah, that's good. We're going to bring this back up to a boil. Once it comes up to a boil, I'm going to hit the timer for 5 minutes. I'm going to re-add my 2 3/4 cup of water to my pot of rice, and I'm going to start that going. 2 3/4 right there. Put that on the back burner and get that boiling. Okay, let's check to see how the food's looking. Oh, look at this. See? The meat's browning up really nice. The vegetables are separating each time we stir it. They separate it a little bit more. This is going to be really good. Oh, there's a thunderstorm. Okay. For now, this is all we have to worry about. When the timer's done, it's almost up to a boil. I'm going to start the timer, and then we'll come back once the timer's done, and I'll show you what you do at that point. So for now, we'll be right back. Forgot one thing. When you're doing the rice, you actually add the seasoning packet and the rice in the pot before you start the burner. I caught that right away, so as you can see, it's already, well, I think you can see, yes, you can see it's already in there. The cool thing about the timing here is once you bring the rice up to a boil, you're supposed to bring it down to a simmer and cover it, and then you cook it for 5 more minutes. The nice thing is, as you can see, the peppers, which need to cook for also for 5 minutes, the water is now coming to a boil, so the timing on this is going to be really good. This is coming to a boil right now. What we're going to do in probably 30 more seconds is bring the temperature down on the rice to simmer, and then we'll cover it and we'll set the timer for 5 minutes. At this point, you should also start your oven preheated to 350. I did that right before I started the recording. You just heard the beeper go off for good. All right, here's the boil. So I got to go to the rear burner, look back there, make sure I get it down to a simmer. Here's a simmer, and then we put a lid on it. We leave the peppers uncovered. So set the timer for 5 minutes. Let's check to see how this is. Oh, look at this. See, the meat is all now brown. But we're going to continue cooking it because you also want the vegetables to be soft. So we're going to let this cook for about the same amount of time as everything else, 5 more minutes. And at that point, we're going to come back and do more things. All right, isn't this fun? I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying the thunderstorm. Everything's turning green outside again. Nice. We've got flowers coming up, dandelions coming up. Normally, dandelions are really bad, but I have a pet rabbit. Dandelion and rabbit, great concept. They love them. So I just keep picking them. He keeps eating them. He's a happy bunny. I have less dandelions in my yard. All right, we'll come back in just a little bit. Cool beans, we're on our schedule here. I just turned off the timer just went off. I turned off the heat on the rice. We're going to take it off of the burner, keep it off to the side, keep it covered for 5 more minutes. The peppers are looking really good. I decided to give them an extra minute and 30 seconds because they're so big and they were still cold. I forgot to take them out, so they were refrigerated, not room temperature. So I decided to go an extra minute and a half. We're almost done with that. If you look at this, you can see this. The vegetables are getting nice and soft like they're supposed to be. Everything's flexible. They'll obviously cook more in the oven once we do that part. But you want them to be fairly soft before they go in the oven. That's what gives everything its, I shouldn't say the flavor because the flavor is already there. The texture, the texture that you want to do when you're eating this is not hard. You want it to be very, very soft, very cooked. Okay, we're down to just about 10 more seconds here. What we're going to do is grab a lid out of the cabinet here, because we're going to have to drain this. There's the timer. Okay. I just love my Pillsbury Doughboy glove. Turn the stove off. Put the lid on there, leave a little gap for the water. We're going to drain the water out of here. Okay. It doesn't hurt to shake them around a little bit to make sure that they all tip off to the side. Yeah, see, now they're soft. That's what we wanted. They weren't quite soft before. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take them out of the pot and put them upside down so that the extra water drains out. Now, I'll warn you right now, they're very hot, okay, because they just came out of boiling water. So if you're not used to this, put on a glove and go fast. The reason we're putting them off to the side here is we want the excess water to drain out. This pot is now done, so we can take it off the stove. At this point, we're going to bring our pan, which I already pre-sprayed. Now, I've got my salt shaker. Remember, I love sea salt. At this point, we're going to put the peppers in the pan. Probably could have gone with a smaller pan, but yeah, actually I think I will. I actually have a 4x4. Excuse me, an 8x8. And I think this will work a little bit better. I'm going to spray this real quick. And we're going to transfer over to the 8x8. Because you want them to stand up when they're cooking, because if they fall over, it sort of defeats the purpose. The red ones, I have a feeling, are going to tip over no matter what we do because of the shape of them. That's probably why people don't use the red peppers. Now we're going to take the salt shaker, And we're going to lightly salt the inside of each pepper. Okay, that's good. Now this meat's been cooking pretty good. That looks excellent. At this time, we're going to drain the meat. And remember what I told you before, when you're draining meat, drain it into a container, not right down the drain. It's very, very bad to put it down your drain. So we're going to turn the heat off. Go to draining mode. Fortunately, because we cooked it longer, a lot of the moisture already came out of it, so we didn't have to drain much. It was just the fat that we drained. Doesn't that look delicious? Okay, now we're going to add the rice. And then we're going to add the tomatoes. And then we're going to stir this up really good. Okay. Now we're going to sprinkle the top with salt. Wow. I'm having another, I think this is going to be my usual thing. I'm going to say the wrong item every once in a while just because it's funny. Okay, and then we'll sprinkle the top with a little bit of pepper. And this one's pretty much empty. It's a good thing I have another one. Okay, this one's ready to go. Most recipes call for a dash. Because I doubled the recipe, I put a little bit more than a dash. It's probably a full teaspoon that I just shook on here. But we want to mix this up a little bit. Now here's where it gets kind of fun. You know that the oven is already up to temperature, so we're good here. Now we're going to add cheese directly to the meat and everything. Normally, you would go with roughly 4 ounces of cheese. Because I doubled the recipe, I have an 8-ounce bag. So you put half of your cheese directly in the mix. And you mix it in, stir it in, make sure it gets, stirred good. It's going to start melting already if you're using the shredded cheddar, which is what you probably should use. If you have a taste for something else like Parmesan or there's so many different types of shreds, mozzarella, anything will work. Most people use the cheddar because that's the standard recipe. But the nice thing about what we do, cooks will tell you, following a recipe is great when you are in a restaurant and people want to know what they're getting. If they come in once and they like it, they want it to be the same next time they come in. When you're cooking for yourself, you're cooking for friends, you can mix it up. It's awesome. Okay, now it's time to stuff the peppers. So we have our spatula. And we're going to literally just drop it right into the pepper. A little closer because I'm making a mess. I do not like waste, as you've heard me say before. So today I'm a little bit flustered because of the storms. I wasn't expecting them. So I'm brushing and it's making me make a mess. So if you make a mess when you cook, you'll be happy to know everybody does. Good cooks or good kitchen staff make sure that it doesn't stay messy. It gets cleaned up quickly. You'll notice my pepper's gone already. When you make a mistake or if you make a mess, when you're in between, that's when you take advantage of that time to fix things. In a restaurant business, they have staff for it because the chef literally goes from one recipe to the next, or a meal to the next, however you want to say it. Okay, once you get these stuffed really good, I want that to stand up. Now we're going to take the rest of the cheese and sprinkle it right on top. Okay, this last one's going to be a little light on cheese. Actually, no, it won't, because I have plenty of cheese. What we do is we open up another bag. We just take a pinch, put it on top to make that one work. All right, at this point, since this is cold, you don't need the gloves. We're just going to stick it in the oven. The oven's already preheated. Set the timer for 30 minutes. And that cooks. Now, here's where we're going to have fun with this. This is something that I like to do that's a little bit unique. I take a meatloaf pan, and since it's silicone, you do not need to spray it. You can if you want, but it's not required. Then, I grab some tater tots, and I put them in the very bottom. I make a full layer on the bottom of tater tots. This is going to be very similar to a tater tot casserole. The difference is, on a tater tot casserole, usually use a bigger pan. But you see that? I've got one nice layer on the bottom. Now, we scoop all this in. You should take the whole thing. I have a little extra because there's supposed to be 6 peppers, and if you remember, I only had 5 because I lost one. So if that 6 pepper was here, this wouldn't be quite so full. But it does fit. And once again, I shouldn't have put that cheese. I didn't. There it is. We cover this with cheese. Oops. Just like this. Very easy. And we grab a pan. And we put this in the oven. Now, that is probably going to take an additional 15 minutes. So when you take the peppers out after 30 minutes, check if the cheese is all melted and turning brown already, you're good to go. If not, put another 15 minutes on the timer and you're golden. So we'll be back 27 minutes. And we're back. We're just about done. We're down to about 1 minute and 25 seconds. I thought I'd come back and let you know that the commercial went really well. Don't you love our commercial breaks? There's no commercials. How cool is that? That's one of the nicer things about this. Although, to be honest with you, some commercials are actually kind of fun to watch. So I don't think we're ever going to do that. Although, as I'm sure you've noticed, I do have a sponsor, which is Piggly Wiggly for our meat. We're still working on a sponsor for our cookware and our cutlery. I do have a couple companies we're working with right now. See what happens with that. But anyway, in just a few more seconds here, the timer is going to go off. We're going to pull out dinner and see how it looks. One of the things that you probably should have done, or I should have done, is not put the cheese on the top until the last 5 minutes. I like really brown cheese. Not everybody likes really brown cheese. So for your recipe, I would suggest setting the timer for 25 minutes and then pulling it out, adding the cheese, baking it another 5 or 10 minutes, depending on how well done you like your cheese. So here we come down to the last 20 seconds. I'm going to get my glove ready and my pot holder. Notice it's got just a slot, so I don't have to put it on because we don't want this timer to keep going off. It will drive everybody crazy. Now, remember, I have 2 different dinners in here out of the same batch of food, which is really kind of cool. So we're going to pull the first one out because I already peeked and it is done. Here we go. So we'll pull out the peppers so you can see them. Look how delicious that looks. Very good. And let's check the other. Yes, it looks like we can go an additional 15 minutes, which I thought is what we were going to do. So I'm going to set the timer for 15 minutes. 1500, start. And at that point, that will come out. The peppers you can pretty much eat right away. The type of tater tot casserole, it's not the normal type, but the kind that we just created here, I'm saving this for tomorrow's dinner. Nice thing is you let it sit till, 20 minutes so it cools down, and then pop it in the refrigerator in a bag or, a container, and it'll slice right up. Really nice. Make a really good dinner for tomorrow. All right, so these are stuffed peppers, not stuffed green peppers, but stuffed peppers. I hope you enjoyed the show. This is Funguy The Entertainer cooking for you.